Hi everybody. Welcome back to another episode of whatever I decide to bake or cook. In this instance, we're baking. This week, we're actually going to do scones. Scones are a type of pastry that I have enjoyed for quite a long time. I can remember going into coffee shops back in the early 2000s and having a blueberry scone, and it was delicious and it was a wonderful thing to have at breakfast. And over time they became kind of expensive, so I figured out how to make them myself. And they've become kind of a Christmas staple in my family. It's something that I make every year for the holidays, and I'm making it this time outside of the holidays because one of my children's birthdays is coming up and they have requested a very specific kind of scone for their birthday. All right, no problem, weirdo. We won't have cake, we'll have scones. Why not? So in this instance, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to make the basic, like I said, the basic scone recipe. It is something that once you have the basic built, you can then take it and go pretty much wherever you want with it. And I'll show you how we do that as well. It's like most things that I do. It seems harder than it is. It is incredibly simple. There are very few ingredients. And once you see how easy this is to do, I think you're going to make some of your... I love being able to talk. It is a joy every day. Once you see how simple this is, you're going to make some of your own. So let's get right into it. As you may be able to tell, my camera person is otherwise occupied. So we're doing this on our own today. First up, we have 4 cups of all-purpose flour in our mixing bowl. All-purpose is perfectly fine. You do not need bread flour, you do not need cake flour, or any other specialized kind of flour. To that, we're going to add a 1/4 cup of sugar. Then, once we have our 1/4 cup of sugar in, we are going to add 2 tablespoons of baking powder. That's 1. And here comes number 2. It's 2 tablespoons of baking powder, not soda. Okay. Next, we add 2 teaspoons of salt. Now, this is just regular table salt. I don't do the kosher salt for this one. There we go, 2 tablespoons of that. And we are going to then just mix on low to make sure everybody's combined. Of course, if my mixing attachment, my paddle, would cooperate, but as my more frequent viewers will notice, it doesn't like to cooperate. We're going to let that mix together while I walk over to my fridge and get our next component. It is important. Important. I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that your butter for this is cold butter. We want butter to be cold because we don't want it to so much as combine with our dry ingredients as just kind of be there. So turn this off. We're going to need 3 sticks of butter. That is 3/4, or I'm sorry, 1.5 cups, because each of these is 1/2 cup of butter. 4 tablespoons, 4 tablespoons. It's 8 tablespoons. So 4 tablespoons is 1/4 cup. 8 tablespoons is 1/2 cup. That is 1.5 cups of butter right then, right there. What we're going to do is take it out of the wrapper. And if it will cooperate with me, which most things don't like to, then we need to cut the butter. So I like to take my big knife right down the middle, turn the butter, and right down the middle again. And then what you end up with is little cubes, and those cubes go into the flour mixture. Just keep cubing your butter, dropping it in. Some people will tell you it is deeply important that you keep these consistent and they must all be the exact same shape, and I think that's funny. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. They can be wild and wacky shapes. In fact, I sometimes take one of these. Let's see here. I'll get the other one open, and then we'll have one more after this. But sometimes I'll take one of these, and some of them I'll just decide that I want to cut into triangles. Why? Just because it's something different. And there was a point in time where I was making dozens and dozens of these every week, and it gets boring doing the same thing over and over again. So I firmly recommend, if you have just a little bit of whimsy in your life and you want to do something different and you want to make it fun for you, do it. As long as it's not hurting anybody, do what you want. Though I will say doing it this way is a lot faster when you use the big knife and you're not just trying to cut little shapes. Scrape down the board, wipe off the knife on the side of the mixing bowl. And we have one more that needs to be cut. Okay, come on. Come on, you can do it. There we go. All right, so final time. Right through the middle. Turn it. Right through the middle. Hooray! And keep. Why is it important for the butter to be cold? Well, because this is almost biscuit-like in the fact that we want them to be tender and flaky, and we want to make sure that this butter is able to form layers within the dough rather than simply melting and being incorporated into it. Those layers are going to help when the baking process is going to leave this tasting so much better. I promise you. And that's what it looks like back in the mixing bowl. It is important at this stage to lock your mixer. Again, we're going to be doing this on low to start. We do not need this to go very high. We don't need to really worry too much about it. We want to get all of the butter covered in flour so that it is able, so that it's ready for our next phase of this particular recipe. Okay, while that's going, I went to the fridge and I got myself some heavy cream, of which we need 1 cup, which I am putting into my measuring cup. I realized my voice kind of went away there for a second. Okay. The other thing that I have to go to the fridge and get, and again, these things need to be kept cold. You want it to be cold to make your life simpler and make the baked good turn out that much better. And honestly, tender and flaky is very, very important with my version of scones, because it just gives it a little je ne sais quoi, a little something that you just don't know what it is. So all right, that looks pretty good. Unlock this. You can still see chunks of butter, but all of those chunks, like that one right there, are covered in flour, which is what we're going for. I'll come back over here, and I have my 1 cup of heavy cream. To that, I am going to add just a smidgen, a teaspoon actually, of vanilla extract, maybe a little bit more. There we go. And 4 eggs. I know, I normally don't crack eggs on the video, but for this, since I don't have a camera person, Why not? And that's number 3. And last but not least, number 4. Okay. 4 eggs, and we're not trying to completely destroy the eggs and beat them, but we do want to break up the yolks at the very least. So I take a fork, I go in until I can pop a yolk. I'll find the next one, and we're going to pop the yolk. We're going to let most of the mixing take place in the bowl, but I like to get it started this way. I think when I was reviewing recipes, and this is more than 15 years ago now, so forgive me if I don't remember perfectly, but when I was reviewing recipes, it said something about lightly beaten in a number of places. I don't know what that means. So I just went with, we break the yolks. Once we have the yolks broken, we pour this into our mixing bowl. And I like to make sure I get as much of this as I possibly can by using my little spatula and scooping out anything that just wants to stick. And then scrape on the sides just to make sure nobody's hiding. All right. Drop this. Lock it down again. Start on low. We are mixing this just until it is combined. We are not going crazy. You can hear the motor straining already. That's it. That is all the mixing that you need to do at the moment. The next thing that we're going to do, as I said, is we're going to put some flour down on our mat. And we are going to empty our mixing bowl, which I somehow managed to forget which version is the lock and which lever is the speed. Oh, this is why I'm normally not allowed to bake by myself, or well, do much of anything by myself, because I usually manage to do something silly and hurt myself. All right, we're going to scrape this onto the flour, and then we'll get our mixing bowl out and do the same. We're going to get as much of this as possible. Most of it should come off. Okay. No, it's fine. Don't cooperate with me. I'm not really concerned about that. Fine. Be a butthead. That's fine. And then the rest is going to come out here. Hopefully it will cooperate. Not that anything today has been very cooperative, but making things up as you go is kind of my superpower. So when things don't want to work, I find ways to make them. Okay. And these right here are going to be your best kitchen tool. So when you're having difficulty, just revert to the hands. Okay, let's move this a little closer so we can actually see the mess. Okay, get as much out of this bowl as possible. Doesn't look like much right now, I know. But worry not, it will come together. All right. No one heard anything, right? I sincerely hope nobody heard anything. So we take our flour and we take our dough and we just mash it together. And this is all about folding. It is a way to make our layers. We fold and we press. Flour. Fold. hold, press it down. And ladies and gentlemen, that is essentially how you make the dough for scones. A couple of steps in the mixing bowl, and then pressing. Now, this is your basic, I would honestly call it almost a cream scone, because it's just vanilla dough. Most people I know don't just want cream scones. They want things in their scone, and that's fine. It's fine. I love blueberry scones, like I said. I've made savory scones. Bacon and cheddar were a big hit at one point. If you want something in your scone, and today the whole purpose of me doing this is to put something in the scone, this is the stage where you do it. Dust it with a little more flour, and then, because I am making dark chocolate and strawberry scones, I have in this bowl dried strawberries and chocolate chips. This isn't the only thing I'm going to do, but this is the first stage. Why dried fruit? Well, because it's easier to work with. If you use fresh fruit, you are going to get fruit juice everywhere. Your scones are going to be waterlogged, and it is going to be a pain in the butt to get them to work and to hold together. They're not going to want to because of the extra water content. Well, Josh, can't I just add more flour? Yes, you can. You absolutely can. It's still going to be a pain in your butt. But all we're doing now is folding and pressing down. We are making layers of dough. A little more flour. As you can see, the amount of flour that I add just to this, think about how much you would have to add if you had the really juicy fresh fruit. You would probably double, maybe even triple the amount of flour that you need for this recipe. Frankly, I don't really consider it worth it, but to each their own. Press, 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 press. Press them down. You can see that the chocolate chips and the strawberry pieces are slowly moving throughout the dough. Part of creating the layer is also working these bad boys in. See how easy it was at the beginning? This part is a little bit of a forearm and shoulder workout. Just getting it pressed flat. Yes, you could probably use a rolling pin. I have not had much success doing that, so I stick to using what I know works, which are my big hands. Okay. Now then, we're just about there. A little bit more flour just to make sure that it stays where it's at and it doesn't stick to me. Goodness gracious. Now then, one thing I forgot was to turn on my oven. So I'm going to take a quick pause and do that. Okay, and we're back. The oven is turned on. It's 350 degrees, by the way. That is my standard temperature. I've brought out my pizza cutter for this next part. Cutting and shaping your scones. Honestly and truly, they can be whatever the heck shape you want. You want to cut them into rounds? Great. You want to make squares? Awesome. Me, I go classic. Peel this part off, set it aside. Peel this part off, set it aside. Take the edge down here off, set it aside. Take the edge off up here, set it aside. Now, I'm going to make some triangles. Those would be two really, really big scones. Thankfully, we're not going quite that crazy. There. Nice triangle shape. Put that on a parchment-lined baking sheet. Make sure you have a couple of inches between. These aren't going to puff a huge amount, but always like to make sure that they have space. Come on. Okay, you don't want to cooperate. That's fine. This guy needs a little more of a trim to be more triangular. As you can see, got them on their baking sheet, ready to go into the oven whenever it decides to finish heating up. Got another one ready to go. If these guys want to actually listen. There we go. There you are, sir. Very good. Okay. Now what do we do with all the cutoffs? Well, we get back to shaping them. Plop, mash, fold. Fold and smash. It's getting kind of sticky again, so we're going to go back in and add some more flour. To both sides. And a little bit on the board so that we can pick up anything that may have decided it wanted to stick from the first batch that we cut. There we go. All right. Fold it over, push down. And again, using our handy dandy pizza cutter, cutting some triangles, putting them on the cutting board, Oi, we're putting them on the baking sheet, Josh. Oh, you moron. Sometimes my mouth just gets away from my brain. I'm sure that none of you out there have that problem. As we get further and further into cutting these and the dough gets less and less, you will reach a point, we're not there yet, but you will reach a point where you just kind of have to freehand them. Maybe the last 2, 3, 4 of them aren't going to cooperate with you. They really don't want to form anything, or there's not enough there to form a square from which you can cut triangles. And that's fine. I consider those final 2 to be the baker's sample. They're not pretty enough to give to people. They're not pretty enough to sell. Not that I do that anymore. But pretty doesn't matter when you just need to eat them. Plus, they're a good way to test, to make sure if your product, the thing that you've baked, is actually any good. I promise you, if you follow these instructions, you are going to get something that you are going to enjoy. I've been wrong before, but I am rarely wrong when it comes to my baked goods. See, this one is the last one we're making. A little rough around the edges. Still tastes good. All right, when the oven comes up to temperature, we're going to put these in for 7 minutes at 350 degrees. And then at that 7-minute mark, we are going to rotate our pans and leave them in for another 7 minutes or until your nose tells you, hey, they're done, which is why you should never walk away while baking. After we're done baking them, we will cool them on a cooling rack. And then we're going to talk about toppings, because these are really good by themselves, but topping them, oh, makes them splendid. Be right back. Now, when they come out of the oven, this is what you're looking for. They're not super brown on the top, but they do have hints of it. You can see them just done, not overdone, which is a really fine line, but you can see browning on the bottom as well. This is exactly what we're looking for. So we're going to let these guys cool for a few minutes before moving them to a drying rack, or cooling rack in this case, to let the air circulate more freely through them. And then we will consider how to top them. I have my camera person back now for this last bit, the fun bit, as it were. We're going to be making the glaze to go on to our lovely scones. And what we're going to do here is we need some powdered sugar, which we're going to measure out a cup of powdered sugar. Bloop. And bloop. This is very roughly measured. I'm not trying to be exact, because once we get it started, we're going to then end up adjusting until we get the consistency I want. So we're going to add it's half a cup of heavy cream. It's another half a cup of heavy cream. Right now we're at a 1-to-1. Almost forgot where my whisk was. It was right there, which is why I almost forgot it. We are not making an icing so much as a glaze for our scones. We don't want anything too terrifically heavy. Oh, that's actually
pretty good.
That's pretty good. That 1-to-1 or almost 1-to-1 worked out pretty well. I'm actually impressed with myself. The next thing that we want to do is I'm going to add a little bit of vanilla, not a lot.
Just a splash.
A couple drops. Vanilla is a flavor enhancer. The flavor that I want really for this glaze is strawberry. So we're going to add a little bit more than the vanilla for strawberry flavoring. And then, because whimsy, why not, we're going to add some pink food coloring. Just so that we know that visually, as well as with taste, that what we're eating is strawberry. Oh, look at that. Reagan's going to love that.
Yes, she is.
Pink being her favorite color. And that is aggressively Pepto-Bismol pink right there.
Don't think she'll have a problem with.
All right, let's see. Okay. You want to try that, camera person? There you go.
Oh, yeah.
That'll do. So at this point, it's simple. We take scone, we dip scone into the glaze, and we lift. Look at that. Want to see it again? Scone into the glaze, lift, let it drain, flip. That's really all there is to glazing these bad boys. And it is just that quick. Doesn't require a high degree of skill, doesn't require a lot of work, unless the scone decides to crumble. I guess this is the one we will be taste testing since it's falling apart.
That's fine with me.
So you will go right there. Have to prove me wrong. Shiminy Christmas. Oh yeah, no doubt. It's lovely. This was the universe telling me that I was too overconfident in saying how easy this was. So it had to prove me wrong by causing it to break up in the glaze. Okay, that is one full tray done. We will do the rest, and then we'll be back with a little bit of a surprise. Okay, everybody's iced, as you can see, our lovely pink. But in this bowl, I have some melted dark chocolate. And what we're going to do with that is just drizzle it over the top. Get your Jackson Pollock on. Go crazy.
Gotta love some dark chocolate.
Oh yeah. Dark chocolate, especially when it's combined in a baked good like this, which is got quite a bit of sweetness. Just a hint of bitter from the dark chocolate really does something. Don't these just look lovely?
They do. So when we're all done, I can have a bowl of that chocolate, right?
I don't know if anybody could actually hear that. Harley's asking for what's left in the bowl when I'm done. Because the child probably wants to dip something. Is that not true, child?
No, it is.
That's what I thought. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do a quick and easy decoration on top of these wonderful scones. But now I would like to taste test this bad boy. So I'll give that to you because I'm nice like that. Ready?
Yep.
Flaky, light, buttery. Chocolate comes in at the end. Absolutely phenomenal, folks. And look, you can do this kind of thing with almost any flavor you want. Now for me, if I'm making blueberry scones, I just have sugar, like rough, coarse sugar on the top. But any kind of scone, play with the flavors, play with the combos, play with the savory. Like I said earlier in the video, bacon and cheddar with cheddar cheese draped across the top. Big hit.
Our mom's favorite.
Yep, Mom loved that one too. Then there was, her other favorite was cranberry and almond.
Yep.
With an orange topping. Sounds non-traditional, tastes amazing. But if you like this video, if you liked what I've done here, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, subscribe, and we'll be back next week with something else.